And welcome to the Lake District in northern Italy for this, the first of our Talking Europe shows dedicated to agriculture. We're going to be travelling across the EU, following the seasons, to get a close look at the lie of the land. But we start here in Italy, which has more farmers than most European countries, indeed second only to Poland. However, the farming population across the EU is ageing, and a shortage of young farmers could put production in jeopardy. The average age here is 58. So does that mean the end of mozzarella? Well, not exactly. The latest Common Agricultural Policy does provide money to try and get young farmers back getting their hands dirty. How much of that is actually getting to the ground? Well, Johan Baudin went to find out.
The Po Valley, one of Italy's main farming regions. Many properties are large, including Lorenzo's. It measures about 200 hectares. For 3 decades, the farmer has grown several types of crops on his land, mainly corn. His latest task at 58 is to pass the farm on to his children.
I have friends whose children don't want to take over their farms because they realize it's hard work and it doesn't pay that well. Some of my friends are sad about this because they had hoped to pass on their business to their children. I hope my children will follow my footsteps. They're already helping me out.
Talking time is over. Lorenzo and his sons have to go back to work. Massimo is in charge of the pig breeding, the farm's main activity.
There are 600 pigs here.
Becoming a farmer wasn't Massimo's dream, but it's now his job, and he knows that it involves many sacrifices.
It's a difficult job, more difficult than others. I know that some of my friends have free time to do things, but I had to abandon all of my hobbies, my weekends, and vacation time. I have to work more than other people.
They haven't taken over the farm yet, but the Galetto brothers have many ideas to develop their property.
This is the pancetta we produce here, and this is the copper.
Roberto is in charge of processing and sales. Twice a week, he runs his stall at the local farmers market. The brothers also now sell their goods directly at the farm.
If our producing process is better, then the quality of our products improves too. This makes our products different from the ones you see at the market. We've created a niche, adding value to the company, and we can sell our products for more.
1,200 young farmers have started working in the Piedmont region over the past 3 years, many taking over their parents' properties. Michaela wants to do the same, but she doesn't have the same kind of support from her family.
So, do you want to restart your grandfather's farm?
Yes, I'm going to try. It's in the mountains. I want to make mountain cheese, but I need financial support, and I don't know what kind of subsidies I can get.
That's exactly the kind of question Luigi can answer. He works in a farmers' union and is in charge of helping young farmers get the right subsidies from the EU.
How big is your land? How many animals are you planning to have?
I currently have 10 hectares that I inherited from my family. That's not enough, so I'm looking for more land for my animals. I plan to have about 30 of them.
Well, in that case, you can get European funding to create your farm. That's about 45,000 euros for farmers that are settling in the mountains, like you.
European aid depends on several factors, including altitude, the size of the farm, and area. Michaela's small farm will get 80% of its budget from the EU, while the Galetto brothers' large property will get 20% of aid.
The EU is the largest wine producer in the world, accounting for about 2/3 of global production. And inside the bloc, it's Italy that's leading the field, but often with quite small fields. To tell us a bit more about Italian agriculture, we're joined now by Alessandro Corsi. You're a professor of agricultural economics at the University of Turin. Tell us, first of all, any particular reason why Italian vineyards are so small?
Oh, well, Italian farms are small in general, but in particular for vineyards, there is an historical reason, in the sense that in the past, almost all farmers have their own vineyards to produce wine for self-consumption. So, of course, in the meantime, things change radically, and now viticulture is much more specialized, but nevertheless, it's still we have still this heritage.
The vineyard we're walking through right now was the fruit of a retirement project by the Baldoni family.
We have just 3 hectares, and when we're in full production, we produce between 1,800 and 2,000 bottles a year. When my husband retired in 2000, we decided to come back to the land that had been left fallow, that had been abandoned by our ancestors. We thought that by doing so, we could leave the land to our children and our grandchildren, because the economic crisis had already hit, and I didn't want my grandchildren to have to emigrate and leave Italy for work, like my grandparents had to.
Tell me, Mr. Accorsi, we're seeing really across the EU and indeed in Italy an ageing of this farming population. Why do young people not want to get into it as much as in the past?
Well, the problem is that basically it's a problem of family succession in the farms, because 95% of Italian farms are family farms. So the real problem is whether or not the son or the daughter of the farmer takes on the farm. And in the 50s, 60s and 70s, people went out from agriculture, even the young people.
So, you know, in recent times we're told the economic crisis has led to more young people going back to the land. Is that the case?
It's quite possible that there is something like that, because of the real problem is that is whether farming is more attractive for children than another.
And the alternatives. And when there's less alternatives, we stay
yes,
on the land.
Exactly.
And tell me, in terms of grants and help, what does the Italian government provide? I've heard they give, 0% maybe interest rates to give loans to young people wanting to start the farms, or, how do people get into buying new land if they want to start from scratch?
Well, the policy for young farmers is the European policy. So there are subsidies for the setting up of new farmers, so-called. The policy has been less successful in terms of new entrants, because the first setting up is very expensive in terms of the investments you have to make. If you cannot rent the land, then you have to buy it, and it's so expensive.
Okay, well, Mr. Accorsi, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the future brings to Italian agriculture overall. But already in 2015, Italy did overtake France in terms of wine production. However, France still holding its own in terms of agriculture overall, accounting for 18% of the EU's output, far ahead of Germany's 13 or Italy's 12. So what's life like for young farmers there? Well, our reporters went to find out.
It is the end of summer, which means farmers outside Quimper in the French region of Brittany are celebrating as they always do. Pierre-Yves has come to present Justine, if only for today he wants to forget about this year's dairy crisis. Pierre-Yves is just weeks away from officially joining his father and uncle in the family business.
To try to go out on my own was too complicated. It's a wonderful profession, I love it, but it's not easy. You have to be on standby day and night. By yourself, it's just not worth it.
His words speak to the industry's plight. For every 3 farmers who retire in France, there is only one new joiner like Pierre-Yves.
The industry's future is on their shoulders.
Stéphane Cornec says the government needs to rehaul its assistance program, starting first by scrapping subsidized loans.
The loans were useful until 2009. Up until then, they were always used. But then interest rates dropped. Now rates are below 2.5%, and so the savings are wasted. Young farmers are losing out on 11,800 euros a year each.
Between national and European assistance, Pierre-Yves is being given 10,000 euros to get him started. But he had to prove he had a viable business plan. It is a good time for the son to join the family business. The Buzits are about to acquire this farm a couple of kilometers away to double their livestock. They feel it's the only way to survive the country's current dairy crisis.
30 years ago, a litre of milk cost about the same as it does today, but the costs of producing it are much higher now. If we'd kept the same workforce and old technology, we'd have gone out of business.
Other young farmers are making the same gamble. Last year, Anthony set himself up on his own in an industry that is perhaps even riskier and more fragile than French dairy farming. Because he had no family backing, Anthony received 16,000 euros in government aid when he started. At first, he rented 2 chicken coops. Then, when that worked, he went ahead and bought this second site. It is a rare success story in the field of aviculture.
The average age of people working in my field is very high. It is something like 55 years. And the property next door is 25 years old now. It's just not an attractive prospect for young people to work in an industry of old poultry farmers running old farms.
Anthony's case helps to silence critics. Still, he hopes to find a partner very soon.
Well, Italy isn't just the EU's leading wine producer, it also produces more organic farming than the other countries in the bloc. We've now come some 50 kilometers north of Milan to Cinderella's Pumpkins. That's the farm of Deborah Amriento. Hi, Deborah.
Hi.
Thanks so much for showing us around your farm. Let's take a look.
Yes.
So, Deborah, tell me, your exploits 1.7 hectares in total, small in size, but really rich in diversity, and that's the special thing about your farm.
Yes, because I think that this is the agriculture of the future. The particularity of the synergetic agriculture is to grow all together, big fruit, little fruit and vegetables. All together they can grow healthy and with more taste, and I have not to use chemical production.
In terms of the EU, when we look at what grants are being given, we're told the Common Agricultural Policy is becoming more and more environmentally friendly. Do you get help because you choose to be so environmentally friendly?
Oh, not so much. I have a little money to start, like a young farmer. Then I have a little money for do my age for feed animals.
Would it not be easier in some ways to use the chemicals? You know, like the field beside you, it's pretty much mass production.
Many persons think that with the chemicals the growth will be much more and bigger. It's not so. In synergetic agriculture, we have the same growth of the chemical one, but the taste and the health is better.
And also you're part of this slow food process that developed in Italy, and we're going to meet now with the president of the slow food in your region.
Yes.
Let's go and say hello. I can see he's coming down to say hello to you.
Yes. Claudio.
Hi, Mr. Moreno, Ivarine. Nice to meet you. So tell me a bit more about this slow food idea, because it started in Italy. Is it still popular in Italy?
It's quite popular, and started about 30 years ago in Imbra, near the south of Turin. and now is in 170 countries in the world. We speak about the food buono, pulito e giusto, is good, clean and right or correct, but also to maintain the ground flora for the future.
But when I think of organic food, I think of very expensive food. You know,
yes,
we go to our supermarket.
Maybe because now it's fashion to buy organic, and it's possible to pay a little more for organic.
So do you think that maybe governments and even the EU needs to do more to encourage this kind of farming, or do you think it's up to the consumer to change?
It's very difficult because they have normally to increase this kind of work, but there is a lot of multinational industry very interesting to produce and to sell chemie and everything, you know.
Yes.
And it's very important. Also, Europe don't make enough because I don't think they have interest with Monsanto buyer, but we suppose perhaps.
Yeah. No, it's more easy that the consumer encourage and help the farmer.
Okay, well there you hear it. Clearly the home of slow food. It started here in Italy at the end of the 80s, something people here clearly want to see continue. But that brings us to the end of this part of the show. See you again after the news.